So hello everybody, we are dealing with the problem solving session for fluid mechanics. So let us deal with the first problem. The height of mercury surfaces in the two arms of the manometer shown in the figure given below are 2 centimeter and 8 centimeter respectively. The atmospheric pressure is 1.01 into 10 to the power 5 Newton per meter square. Find the pressure of the gas in the cylinder and the pressure of mercury at the bottom of the U-tube. So these are the two problems that are asked over here in this particular case. So the first thing that I emphasize over here is over here the pressure that is acting is pressure due to the gas, and on this side the pressure is due to the atmosphere. Now there is a difference in the level of the manometer. So we can solve the problem by drawing a line over here, at this point, or maybe we can discuss about the pressure at the lowest point or the bottom end of the manometer. Now since in the B part of the problem the pressure of mercury at the bottom of the U-tube is also asked, so we are considering the bottom point. So over here I can write one single equation, that pressure at the bottom of the manometer is equal to, so if I write according to the left limb of the manometer, then it will be pressure due to the gas plus rho g h1, that is density of mercury into acceleration due to gravity into h1, and it can be equated with the pressure on the right limb, that is pressure due to atmosphere plus rho g h2 So these are the two ways by which we can equate the pressure, that is pressure on the left hand side is equal to the pressure on the right hand side, that is due to the left limb and the right limb are equated. And if I solve this part of the problem, then we will be able to get the pressure due to the gas in the cylinder. So pressure due to the gas on the cylinder plus, so if I write density of mercury, then it is 13.6 into 10 to the power 3 into GH1, which is equal to pressure due to atmosphere, that is 1.01 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal, plus density of mercury, that is 13.6 into 10 to the power 3 GH2. So hence if I write pressure due to the gas or pressure due to the gas chamber, then we can write it as 1.01 into 10 to the power 5 plus 13.6 into 10 to the power 3 into 9.8, that is acceleration due to gravity, and h2 minus h1. So h2 minus h1 over here is the two heights, that is 2 and 8 centimeter respectively. So we can write over here 8 by 100 minus 2 by 100 in meter respectively, and from here I can write that pressure due to the gas is equal to 1.01 into 10 to the power 5 plus this entire value when calculated is turning out to be 0.8 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal, and hence the total value can be written as 1.09 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. So this is going to be the pressure due to the gas in the cylinder. Now in the next part the problem is asking the pressure of mercury at the bottom of the U-tube. So that is either I can calculate using the right hand part of this equation, that is pressure due to the right limb, or pressure due to the left limb. So both will eventually give us pressure at the bottom of the U-tube container. So in this particular scenario, I am taking this particular equation, that is pressure due to gas plus rho g h1. So if I do this, then I can write so for B part, pressure due to the gas cylinder is going to be equal to, sorry, pressure at the bottom of the cylinder. So pressure at the bottom of the cylinder is going to be equal to pressure due to gas plus rho g h1. So that is pressure due to gas we have evaluated as 1.09 into 10 to the power 5 plus 13.6 into 10 to the power 3 into 9.81 into 2 centimeter, that is 2 by 100 meter. So the value over here is turning out to be 1.12 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal. So this is going to be the pressure at the bottom of the container or bottom of this U-tube vessel. So we have calculated both the parts over here successfully, that is the pressure of the gas in the cylinder and the pressure of mercury at the bottom of the U-tube manometer. So we are dealing with the next problem. Water is filled in a rectangular tank of size 3 meter into 2 meter into 1 meter. Find the total force exerted by the water on the bottom surface of the tank. The next one is consider a vertical side of area 2 into 1. Take a horizontal strip of width dx meter in this side, situated at a depth of x meter from the surface of water. Find the force by the water on this strip. Find the torque of the force calculated in the part B about the bottom edge of this side. Find the total force by the water on this side. Find the total torque by the water on this side about the bottom edge. Neglect the atmospheric pressure and take G equals 10 meter per second square. So these are the aspects which are being asked in this particular problem. So if I start approaching this problem, so we are considering something like this. So let us consider a vessel. So in order to consider a vessel, so we are considering it in this particular manner, that is so this is how the front part of the vessel is going to look like. So this is the front part of the vessel that is given, and it is filled with water up to a height of 1 meter. So it is filled with water up to a height of 1 meter. So if I talk about the pressure exerted by the water, so the water is going to exert a pressure at the base of the container, which I am taking as pressure due to water, which can be simply given as rho gh. And if I talk about the cross sectional area, then it is equal to L into B. So if I talk about the pressure exerted on the base of the water, on the force exerted at the base of the chamber on the bottom surface, then it is going to be pressure into area. That is, it can be written as rho G LBH. So if we substitute the value, then the density of water is 10 to the power 3, G is 10, and LBH is 3 to 1 respectively. So on calculation, we are finding this out to be equal to 60,000 Newton. So this is the force which is going to be exerted by the water on the bottom surface. Now in the next part, the problem is asking us to select a patch and then solve it to calculate the pressure on the side 2:1. So if I redraw this arrangement, so we are redrawing this arrangement like this. So let us consider something like this. So I'm trying to draw the chamber in a 3D view. So this is the three-dimensional view of this particular chamber that we have. So over here what we are doing is at a depth x, I am selecting this patch. I am selecting this patch which is of thickness dx, which is of thickness dx. The chamber is 3 meter into 2 meter into 1 meter in dimension. So over here, if this is 2, so this side is also equal to 2 meter. So if I talk about the elemental patch, then the area of the elemental patch dA is equal to 2 dx, is equal to 2 dx. And if I talk about the pressure exerted due to a depth x, then it can be written as 2gx. The pressure exerted due to a depth x is equal to rho gx, and hence if I talk about the force, then it is equal to pda, that is it can be written as 2 rho gx dx. So this is going to be the force exerted on this vertical wall of dimension 2 into 1, and if we integrate both sides, so if we integrate both sides, then we can get the value of force. So force is turning out to be 2 rho g integration of x dx, and the integration of x dx will have the limit from 0 to 1. So over here at this particular point, the depth is 0, and at the base over here, since the height is 1 meter, so we take the limit from 0 to 1, and hence if I calculate this value, then it is equal to 2 into 10 to the power 3 into 10 into x square by 2, that is 1 square by 2, on substituting the upper limit and lower limit. So on solving, we are attaining a value which is turning out to be this these two cancel, that is 10,000 Newton. So we get a value of force which is turning out to be 10,000 Newton. Now this equation is of prime importance for us, that is the value of df that we have calculated, 2 rho g x dx. So this is the value of force, this is the value of force that we have calculated on this particular patch. So if I calculate the value of torque, so if I again reconstruct this particular so I'm only drawing this vertical wall, I'm only drawing the vertical wall in which we are interested in, not the entire container. So if we consider this vertical wall, so this is the rest of the chamber over here on the left hand side. So over here what we have done is at a depth x, so we have selected a patch. The patch is of thickness dx, the patch is of thickness dx, and if I calculate the height from the base, so if the total height is 1 meter, then it is going to be 1 minus x, it is going to be 1 minus x, and the force which is acting on this particular patch is written as df. So if I write torque about the base, then it is going to be r cross f, that is 1 minus x into df, 1 minus x into df, and hence the value of torque d tau can be written as, so if I substitute the value of df, so it can be written as 1 minus x 2 rho g x dx, 2 rho g x dx, and if I substitute the value of rho and g, so it is turning out to be x 1 minus x dx. So if we integrate this expression, if we integrate this particular expression, then we will be able to calculate the net torque which is acting about the base of the or the bottom of the vessel. So the limit of integration is from 0 to 1, and hence I can write that the net torque is turning out to be 20,000 integration of x dx minus integration of x square dx. The limit is from 0 to 1, the limit is from 0 to 1. So the net torque over here is turning out to be 20,000 integration of x dx is x square by 2, that is 1 by 2 minus 0, minus this one is x cube by 3, so it is going to be 1 by 3, and the answer will be in Newton meter. So the net torque is turning out to be 20,000 into 1 by 6. So over here we can write it as 1000 by 3, 10,000 by 3 Newton meter. So this is the complete answer for this particular problem, where we have solved each aspect of this problem in a much detailed way. That is, the first thing that we have done is we have calculated the pressure exerted by water on the bottom of the vessel, and then simply multiplied it with the area uh, of the bottom part to calculate the force. Then what we have done to calculate the force exerted on the vertical wall. So at a depth x, we have selected a patch of thickness dx, and then solved it in this particular manner to attain the equation for force. And followed by that, we have calculated the equation for torque. So for the patch selected, we are calculating the torque from the bottom of the vessel. So it is important that while writing the torque equation, we take the distance should be measured from the bottom of the vessel, and hence if this is x, it will turn out to be 1 minus x into df. So this is the way by which we approach this kind of a problem. So let us move to the next one. An ornament weighing 36 gram in air weighs only 34 gram in water. Assuming that some copper is mixed with gold to prepare the ornament, find the amount of copper in it. The specific gravity of gold is 19.3 and that of copper is 8.9. So the first thing that I do is I write the information provided in the problem in this particular manner. So I can write over here that the weight of the ornament in air. So I'm writing it as weight in air. So we are writing it in gram force. So that is 36 gram force. The next thing which I write is weight in water. So weight in water is measured as 34 gram force. Now the mismatch in the two weight is because of the upthrust which is acting. So upthrust is going to be the difference between the real weight and the apparent weight, which is turning out to be 2 gram force. Now the next part is specifying, giving us the specific gravity of gold and copper. So I can write that the density of copper is equal to 8.9 gram per centimeter cube. So the density of copper is turning out to be 8.9 gram per centimeter cube, and that of gold is 19.3 gram per centimeter cube. So these are the information which we have extracted from this particular question or the problem which is given to us. Now the next thing which we do is we write the total volume. So if I write the total volume, so I can write over here that the total volume is because of the volume of copper present in the ornament and the volume of gold present in the ornament. So it is because of this particular aspect that we get something like this. And the next thing that we can write is the total mass. The total mass is going to be because of the mass of copper and the mass of gold. So mass of copper can be written as density of copper into volume of copper plus mass of gold can be written as density of gold into volume of gold. So this is how we calculate the total mass for this particular problem. And over here, the weight in air is given to us as 36 gram force. So we can simply say that 36 gram force is because of these two parameters combined. That is 8.9 into volume of copper plus 19.3 into volume due to gold. So this can be regarded as equation number 1 for this particular problem that we have. Now the next thing that we do is we write the expression for upthrust. Next thing that we are doing is we are writing the expression for upthrust. So upthrust is written as the volume of solid emerged. So in this case it is going to be the total volume density of liquid into G. Now since the value is given to us in gram force, so there is no need of multiplying it with G. So over here I can write that the value of upthrust, which is equal to 2 gram force, is equal to total volume of solid, which is equal to volume of copper plus volume of gold. Density of liquid is 1 gram per centimeter cube, that is water. So from here I will get the second equation, that is volume of copper plus volume of gold is equal to 2. So this is the second equation that I have. Now what we need to do is we need to solve these two equations simultaneously. So over here, in order to attain this particular aspect, so I can simply say that we can multiply it with 8.9 on both sides. So if I multiply it over here 8.9, so then the two equation will look like this. So it will attain the form 8.9 into volume of copper plus 8.9 into volume of gold is equal to 17.8, that is 2 into 8.9. And the next equation that we have is 8.9 volume of copper plus 19.3 volume of gold is equal to 36. So if I subtract both these equations, so on subtracting the two equations we obtain this particular equation in this way, that 10.4 times of volume of gold is equal to 18.2. The negative is removed from both sides, and hence I can write that the volume of gold is equal to 18.2 divided by 10.4. So that is, it is equal to 1.75 centimeter cube, and hence the volume of copper can be calculated, since both of them combined is equal to 2. So we are left with 0.25 centimeter cube. So therefore the quantity of copper or mass of copper in the ornament can be written as density into volume. So 0.25 into 8.9, that is, it is turning out to be 2.225 gram force. So this is how we approach this particular problem to attain the required result, that is, the mass of copper present is turning out to be 2.225 gram force. Let us move to the next problem. A cube of ice floats partly in water and partly in kerosene oil, given in the figure below. Find the ratio of the volume of ice immersed in water to that in kerosene oil. The specific gravity of kerosene oil is 0.8 and that of ice is 0.9. So now over here what we do is we divide this ice into two parts. So in the first part we have a portion which is in the kerosene oil, and in the another part we have something which is in water. So over here I can say that the volume which is present in kerosene oil is equal to V1, and that present in water be equal to V2. So over here I can write that the total volume that we can write V total, this is equal to V1 plus V2. Now if the problem is stating that the ice is floating, so that implies that the weight of the ice is balanced by the upthrust. So over here one more thing can be done. So I can write over here that the density of kerosene oil is equal to 0.8 gram per centimeter cube. Density of water, that is already known as 1 gram per centimeter cube. And then we have a density of ice which is equal to 0.9 gram per centimeter cube. So these are the three things that we have. So if I write the weight of the ice, so we are calculating it in gram force, so we are not multiplying it with a g. So that is, I can write it as zero point 0.9 times of total volume, that is V1 plus V2, and the equation is in gram force. So this is the first part, that the weight of the ice is equal to 0.9 times of the total volume, that is V1 plus V2 combined. Now I write for flotation purpose it is important that the weight of the ice is balanced by upthrust. The weight of the ice is balanced by upthrust. So I can write over here 0.9 times of V1 plus V2 is equal to. So upthrust is equal to volume of solid density of liquid into G. So now since the total volume is not in one particular liquid, so I am writing it as volume of solid in kerosene oil into density of kerosene oil, this is gram force, plus volume V2 which is in water into density of water, and this is also in gram force. So this is how I equate this particular equation. So over here I can attain this equation in this form. So 0.9 V1 plus 0.9 V2 is equal to 0.8 V1 plus V2, and hence I can write over here that 0.1 V1 is equal to 0.1 V2. So V1 is to V2 is equal to 1 is to 1. So I can write over here that the ratio of the volume of ice immersed in water to that in kerosene oil is 1 is to 1. So volume of water that is immersed in water V2 is to V1 is 1 is to 1. So for this particular problem, this is the correct answer. That is, both the ratio is equivalent, is the same. That is 1 is to 1. So let us deal with the next problem. So the next problem is stating a hollow spherical body of inner and outer radii 6 centimeter and 8 centimeter respectively floats half submerged in water. Find the density of the material of the sphere. We are asked to calculate the density of the material of the sphere. So now what we do, or how we begin approaching this particular problem. So let us first of all consider this particular aspect over here. So I am considering we are considering a hollow sphere over here. So when I say that we are considering a hollow sphere, so I can say that it is having a inner and outer dimension. And this is the portion of the sphere which is made from a certain metal whose density is to be determined in this particular problem. So over here it is given that the inner and outer radius is equal to 8 and 6 centimeter. So first thing that I write is the volume of the material which is used. So the volume of the material which is used can be given as in this particular way. So I can write over here that the volume of solid portion is equal to 4 by 3 times of pi r outer cube minus r inner cube. So there is an outer radius and an inner radius. So the volume of solid is turning out to be 4 by 3 times of pi r outer cube minus r inner cube. Density of solid we don't know, so we are writing density of solid as ds. So therefore I can write that the weight of the solid, so if I write the weight of the solid, then it is equal to density into volume. So that is, it is turning out to be 4 by 3 pi ds r naught cube minus ri cube, that is outer radius cube minus inner radius cube. Now the problem is stating that it is half submerged in water. So when I say it is half submerged in water, so I mean to say that half of the volume which is corresponding to the outer radius is inside water, and then if it is in equilibrium, so it implies that the upthrust provided by the submerged part is balancing the weight of the solid which is acting in the downward direction. So if I approach this problem in this way, so I can take the value of upthrust. So volume of upthrust is equal to volume of solid immerged, density of liquid into G. So since half the volume is immerged, so half of 4 by 3 pi r naught cube into density of liquid into G. So this is how we write this particular equation. That is, the value of upthrust is going to be the volume of solid immerged density of the liquid into G. And if it is in equilibrium at this particular point, so I can say that we can equate the weight of the solid part and the upthrust. So hence, I can say that if it is in equilibrium, so weight of the solid is balanced by the upthrust, that is 4 by 3 pi density of solid r naught cube minus ri cube is equal to half of 4 by 3 pi r naught cube density of liquid into G. So over here also there will be a parameter G, we are writing weight. So we can chop this out, G 4 by 3 pi 4 by 3 pi, and we are attaining this equation. So from here I can say that the density of solid is equal to R naught cube upon R naught cube minus Ri cube into density of liquid, which is 1 gram per centimeter cube. So if I substitute the value, that is R naught is equal to 8 and Ri is equal to 6. So on substituting the value, we are attaining a value that is equal to 0.864 gram per centimeter cube. So the density of solid is turning out to be 0.864 gram per centimeter cube for this particular problem. So we are dealing with the next problem, problem number 6. Find the ratio of the weight as measured by a spring balance of a 1 kg block of iron and a 1 kg block of wood. The density of iron is 7800 kg per meter cube and that of wood is 800 kg per meter cube, and density of air is 1.293 kg per meter cube. So now this problem is interesting in the sense that in this particular problem, the question is considering that the upthrust is provided by the air. So air is also an example of fluid. Air is also an example of fluid, and we can easily consider that the weight which is acting in the downward direction is counterbalanced by the upthrust force U, and the resultant force is what is read by the spring balance. So the reading of the spring balance will be simply written as mg minus upthrust. So if I write the weight measured by for iron, so in order to calculate for iron, we are first of all doing it for iron. So for iron I can write it as that mass is equal to 1 kg, density of iron is equal to 7800 kg per meter cube. So over here I can write that the volume of iron is equal to 1 upon 7800 meter cube, and hence I can write that the weight of iron as measured by spring balance is turning out to be mg, which is 9.81, minus upthrust, which is volume of solid, density of air 1.293 into g, again 9.81. And if I write this is regarded as equation number 1. If I write for wood, so then for wood I can write that the mass is equal to 1 kg, density of wood is equal to 800 kg per meter cube, volume of wood is equal to 1 upon 800 meter cube, and hence I can write that weight of wood is equal to mg 9.81 minus volume of wood, density this time of air, this is the fluid that is involved, into g 9.81, and this becomes equation number 2. So if I divide equation number 1 and equation number 2, so we will obtain weight of iron divided by weight of wood. So the ratio of the weight measured by the spring balance can be calculated in this way. So on solving the first equation, we are attaining the value that is turning out to be 9.8084, and on solving the second one we are attaining a value that is turning out to be 9.7953, and if I divide the two, so I am attaining a value that is equal to 1.0013. So this is the ratio of the weight as measured by the spring balance in air, while air will offer the upthrust force for both the solids. Let us move to the next problem. In the next problem, it is stating a U tube containing a liquid is accelerated horizontally with a constant acceleration A naught. If the separation between the vertical limbs is L, find the difference in the heights of the liquid in the two arms. So if I consider a U tube manometric arrangement, so we are considering it in this particular way. So this is the way by which we are considering it. So over here it is stated that the separation between the two limbs is equal to L, and it is accelerating with an acceleration a naught. Now due to this acceleration a naught, I can say that the liquid will make something like this. So the liquid in the manometric tube or the U tube arrangement will look like this. So it will look like this. And over here, if I draw a line like this joining these aspect, so I can say that this theta angle which we wish to calculate, this theta angle which I wish to calculate, so this theta angle can be written as due to the difference in the height of the two limbs, difference in the height of the liquid column in the two limbs. So I can write from the standard result that we know that tan theta is equal to A by G, and this can be written as H by L. So the difference in height of the liquid level in the two limb is equal to A naught L by G. So this is the simple explanation for this particular problem, that is H is equal to A naught L by G. So the difference in the height which is equal to H can be written as A naught L by G for this particular problem. Let us move to the next one. The eighth problem. At Deoprayag river, Alaknanda mixes with the river Bhagirathi and becomes river Ganga. Suppose Alaknanda has a width of 12 meter, Bhagirathi has a width of 8 meter, and Ganga has a width of 16 meter. Assume that the depth of water is same in the three rivers. Let the average speed of water in Alaknanda be 20 km per hour and in Bhagirathi be 16 km per hour. Find the average speed of water in the river Ganga. So in this particular problem we are approaching in this way. So I am drawing two streams of water which is joining the third stream. So the two streams of water are joining the third stream. So over here I am marking this stream as Alaknanda, that is A. So Alaknanda is mentioned as A, Bhagirathi is mentioned as B, and then they combine together to become Ganga, which we are mentioning as G. So now one basic thing which can be stated over here is that the volume of water that flows in from Alaknanda and Bhagirathi is equivalent to the volume of water that is flowing through Ganga. So if I consider that the height of rather the depth of water in each of this river is H, so we are considering that the depth of water in these flowing rivers is equal to H, be it Alaknanda, Bhagirathi or Ganga. So I can say that in 1 hour, if the average speed of Alaknanda is 20 km per hour, so I can say in 1 hour, the stretch of 20 km will flow into the Ganga. And if the speed is 16 km per hour for Bhagirathi, so the stretch of 16 km will flow in Ganga. And let me take that the speed of V is kilometer per hour be that of Ganga. So in each hour, over here V kilometer stretch of the river will move ahead. So hence I can write over here that the volume which is poured in by Alaknanda and volume which is poured in by Bhagirathi is equal to the volume which is flowing in the river Ganga. So volume of A per hour. So per hour 20 kilometer stretch is cleared. The width which we are talking about is having a width of 12 meters. So it should be noted that this is in kilometer and this is in meter. We are not doing any conversion. If you wish to do the conversion, we can, although it will be taken common in each aspect. The depth is taken as D. So this is the volume of water which is poured in by Alaknanda. By Bhagirathi, I can say that 16 kilometer of stretch per hour into the width. So the width of this particular river Bhagirathi is 8 meters. So I can convert it into kilometer as well, into the depth d, which is equal to the volume which is poured in Ganga, which is v kilometer per hour, into the width which is 16. So 16 by 1000 into the depth d. So over here I can take d by 1000 common to all the equations, and then we can calculate the v as 20 into 12 by 16 plus 16 into 8 by 16. So this will give us the speed v of the river. So it is turning out to be 23 kilometer per hour. So the speed of the river Ganga is equal to 23 kilometer per hour. That is, Alaknanda and Bhagirathi will combine together to become river Ganga, and they will flow in this particular manner, that is 23 kilometer per hour. Let us move to the next problem. So in this next problem, we have a venturimeter arrangement. Water flows through the horizontal tube as shown in the figure given below. If the difference of the height of water column in the vertical tubes is 2 centimeter, and the areas of the cross section A and B are 4 centimeter square and 2 centimeter square, find the rate of flow of water across any section. So we are dealing with the next problem. Water flows through a horizontal tube as shown in the figure given below. If the difference of the height of water column in the vertical tube is 2 centimeter, that is this particular aspect, this h, so this h over here is given to us as 2 centimeter, and the areas of the cross section at A and B are 4 centimeter square and 2 centimeter square respectively. Find the rate of flow of water through any section. So if I deal with this particular problem, so I'm stating over here that at this particular point A, the velocity is VA, and at this point B, the velocity is VB. So I can mention over here that the velocity at A be VA and that at B be VB. So if I talk about the rate of flow of water, the rate of flow of water, the rate of flow of water, which is also regarded as the rate of discharge, then it can be written as area of A into velocity at A, which is also equal to area at B, velocity of B. So this is the value of the rate of flow or the rate of discharge. So over here I can modify this expression in this way. So area at A is equal to 4 centimeter square into velocity at A, which is equal to 2 centimeter square into velocity at B. So from here we get an equation that velocity of B is equal to twice velocity of A, and this is regarded as equation number 1. Now what we do next is we apply Bernoulli's equation between the point A and B. So I can write it as pressure at A plus rho g HA plus half rho velocity at A squared is equal to pressure at B plus rho g HB plus half rho velocity of B squared. Now since both A and B are at the same reference level, so I can say that this value rho g HA and rho g HB will cancel each other out. And the next aspect which I can write is pressure at A minus pressure at B is equal to half rho velocity at B square minus velocity of A square. So the difference in pressure between A and B can be written because of this difference in height, that is PA minus PB can be written as rho GH. So this H is equal to 2 centimeter. So we can write it as rho G, H can be written as 2 by 100. So if I substitute this value over here, so I can write it as 2 rho G by 100 is equal to half rho. Now VB is equal to 4 times of VA square minus VA square, so it will become thrice of VA square. So I can cancel this row out. The value of G can be taken as 10 over here. So I can write over here that 3 VA square is equal to 4 into 10 by 100. 4 into 10 by 100. So from here I can say that VA is equal to 4 by 30 square root, that is it is equal to 2 by root 30 meter per second. So this 2 by root 30 meter per second is the value of velocity at A. Now the problem is asking us find the rate of flow of water across any cross section, that is we need to calculate the value of area of A into velocity of A. So velocity of A is known to us, area of A is also known to us. So therefore I can calculate the rate of discharge. So the rate of discharge, which is equal to Q, can be written as area at A, velocity at A. So area at A is equal to 4 centimeter square, and velocity of A, which is 2 by root 30 meter per second, can be written as 2 by root 30 into 100 centimeter per second. So that is the answer will be in centimeter cube per second. And over here on solving we are attaining a value which is turning out to be 146 centimeter cube per second, or 146 cc per second. Let us deal with the last problem in this particular segment. Water level is maintained in a cylindrical vessel up to a fixed height h, which is capital H over here. The vessel is kept on a horizontal plane. At what height above the bottom should a hole be made in the vessel so that the water stream coming out of the hole strikes the horizontal plane at the greatest distance from the vessel? So over here what I suggest is let this particular height be equal to y from the ground or from the base, and hence I can say that this particular height from the top of the surface is equal to h minus y. So over here we can write the velocity of efflux, that is equal to root 2 gh. So root 2 g, and the height which we take is equal to h minus y. So over here what we are dealing with is that I can break this problem in this particular way, that the velocity of discharge over here is 2g h minus y, and then from this particular point it will follow a projectile path and land somewhere over here at a distance x, where this particular height is equal to y. So if we write an equation for x, so I can write over here that the time duration for this particular fall to take place is equal to 2y by g square root. So 2y by g, and hence I can say that the distance x is equal to velocity of efflux into time. So 2g h minus y square root into time, which is 2y by g. So this is the total value of x that we have. So if I take this under one particular roof, so I can write it as 4y h minus y square root. So now what is the requirement over here is the problem is stating so that the water coming out of the hole strikes the horizontal plane at the greatest distance from the vessel. So that is, I mean to say, we need to maximize the value of x. We need to find the maximum value of x. So in order to calculate the maximum value of x, it is required that we equate this function which is inside the square root to the maximum value. So over here I can write it as that is, we can write this expression as 4hy minus 4y square root is equal to x. So in order to make this maximum, I am equating this part which is inside this square root to maxima. That is, if I differentiate this term, so derivative of 4hy minus 4y square with respect to dy when equated to 0 will give us the condition for maxima. So over here we attain 4h minus 4 times of 2y is equal to 0. So over here we attain that the y is equal to h by 2. So if y is equal to h by 2, then we attain the condition for maxima. That is, the condition of maxima is attained. So over here the requirement is that if the y is equal to h by 2, then we can say that the water that is coming out from the hole will strike the horizontal plane at the greatest distance from the vessel.